My husband and his sister are the product of his father's affair. As a result, my husband grew up very close to his mother and his sister, and he was so overprotective of them because he was, in his own words, the man of the house. My sister-in-law and I were friends in college, and I actually met my husband through her. We've been married for 15 years and we're having fertility issues. It's been really depressing for me. We've been through multiple miscarriages. We now have a little girl. Throughout the years, my sister-in-law and her husband developed a weird interest in my fertility. A very inappropriate and invasive interest. Think things like asking me when was my period, were we planning to conceive that day. I let a lot of it slide, but I lost it when my brother-in-law, sister-in-law's husband, asked me what my miscarried baby looked like when it came out. To my surprise, sister-in-law defended me and apologized on behalf of her husband. However, when I lost another baby, my brother-in-law asked my mother-in-law if she was happy with me, since she'll never get to see her son's kids. My mother-in-law is old and clearly suffering from mental issues, so I don't blame her, but she organized a family reunion with my brother-in-law and my husband without me to try to talk my husband into divorcing me because I clearly can't give him the kids they all want. My idiot husband actually considered it and came back home to tell me that we need a break and he can't be with me without kids. It was completely unexpected to me, so I pressed him about it to know where all of this came from. He told me everything. We got separated and I confronted my mother-in-law and she told me all about brother-in-law's obsession with my uterus. My husband begged me to come back and apologized profusely and even got my mother-in-law and sister-in-law to apologize. Brother-in-law never ever apologized or even admitted that he was wrong. I took my husband back on the condition that I'd never have to be in the same room as brother-in-law. Ever. If he's invited to family events, I'm not going. My husband agreed and he said that he won't go too, but he can't cut his sister out of his life. I said fine, she actually apologized. Then my baby was born and sister-in-law kept saying how it's a shame that brother-in-law can't see her when he wanted her to come to this world so bad. She kept saying weird comments like this, so I told her that she can't talk about her husband around me or I'll just stop talking to her too. She never said anything directly to me, but I know for a fact she never misses an opportunity to whine about it to my husband. He thinks it's unfair to her because it feels like she has to walk around eggshells around me. I told him that if her husband is all she can talk about, then I'm not interested in having her in my life. To this day, he still argues with me that I'm too cruel to his sister when she stood up for me. Not the idiot, what in the actual hell are these people thinking? They should mind their own business. Is the brother-in-law actually sick in the head? He isn't even biologically related to you. Why in the hell would he be so interested in your personal lives? Honestly, if I was you, I'd cut contact with as many of these people as possible. Not the idiot, but you should have dumped this whole ridiculous family long ago. Your husband is no better now than when he left you before. He's not worried about his child or wife, just his sister. He's become, mostly, his own father. There's no reason for sister-in-law to be around you or the baby anymore. And as the only decent parent in your child's life, know that one thing you may need to protect him from is his father. What the heck is wrong with your in-laws? I mean, they are all unanimously messed up, disgusting people. Who the hell asks what a miscarried fetus looks like? Who the hell convinces someone to leave their wife because of a miscarriage? And I'm appalled he was so spineless to be successfully talked into it. Not the idiot. I'm surprised that you stayed with your husband. Tiny update. One thing I'll clarify is that my husband is not on good terms with brother-in-law. He never let him meet our girl, and he makes sure I never have to see him. He still and will always have a close relationship with his sister though. My husband and I read a big part of this threat together and had a talk about it. I think saying that he feels like an idiot is an understatement. However, he feels like this is all very exaggerated and I agree with him on some parts. I think he understands now that this is not just an incident of the past for me and that I will not get over it anytime soon. We'll be working on our relationship and he actually agreed that his sister and him share an unhealthy attachment. 34 here and not in the United States. This February, I was accused of harassment of the NTH degree by a subordinate of my team at my workplace. Why? She was not a good employee and knew I was going to write a negative report that would lead to her getting fired. She thought this was the best way to prolong the inevitable. A lot of news of such nature were floating around where bosses or superiors took advantage of juniors, and to avoid all that, my company decided quick justice was the way to go and without an investigation fired me. News of it spread around and my ex-teammates looked at me in disgust. I live in my family home with my parents, wife and older brother's family, and I was forced to leave because I was ashamed to them and society around us in general. All of them refused to believe me, and I get it, most of the people involved in such cases are all seemingly innocent. What hurt the most was that my parents of 34 years, wife of 6 years and girlfriend and fiancé for 10, my office for 5 thought I was not worth listening to. The light in all of this were my younger sister and my brother-in-law who had enough faith in me to know that I was innocent and took me in. They are both lawyers and said they would help me clear my name. It was a long and grueling process, and no thanks to the great Rona, that getting court dates were difficult. It was even more difficult that the event I was accused of happened outside the office in an area with no cameras. It was not especially helpful that my wife started posting stuff about betrayal and things are not what they seem. Plus how my brother and sister-in-law were posting about living with the lowest trash. Eventually the loops in the accuser's story and my alibis helped clear me of charge and now I am suing her for defamation. I got my company fined for their quick justice and they offered a settlement for not pursuing a case against them, which I obviously took since I am not going back to work in hell. It has been a month since then. I am set to move in a new apartment near my sister's place and will be freelancing for a while. Oh, and I have also decided to cut off the toxic part of my family and divorce my wife. I am livid for what they did. Parents and brother are sorry for what they did and want another chance. Soon-to-be ex-wife asked me to reconsider for the sake of our child, who I plan to take custody of. They are now guilt-tripping me to forgive them and have involved relatives to talk me out of doing something absurd. I am pretty dead set with my decision as my sister says she will support whatever I choose as long as I do not regret it. I understand such cases are difficult and we have a long way to, but does that mean every single good deed will be negated by some baseless accusation of such degree? I choose to give my blood the benefit of doubt. My family thinks I should understand the pressure they were in and just forgive and forget. Am I the idiot? Your family should be there to support you and they should know you are not a person to do such things. For God's sake, the family stood by Brock Turner's side and he did a horrific thing with witnesses. These people just trusted a word of a random person against you. You don't need such people in your life. So why do they want you back? Because they love and support you? No, they already made that much clear. So what's the reason? You bring 2 solutions to 2 problems. You have money to contribute to the household and you can help with a kid. They're not interested in you. They're only interested using what you can do for them. Stay away. Maybe someday, but not anytime soon. Your family threw you under the bus for their convenience, and now that ostracizing you is no longer beneficial for them, they just want things to return to what they were before these false accusations. Now you know how much they value you, and it's up to you to decide whether or not you are okay to be discount bin relative to them. My husband really wanted kids. I like kids and sort of wanted them, but I hate the work associated with babies. I would rather work a 18-hour shift than change a diaper and clean up vomit. So I made him agree, before we got married, if we have kids, he'll stay at home and do all of the nights and cleaning up. Well, I've been working from home, and as I've been home he's become increasingly difficult. He sleeps half a day away and spends most of the time just lying in bed. I've been having to wake him up in the morning or he'll sleep until noon. Then at night when she cries, he won't get up and will wake me up and try and get me to do it. Obviously I say no, in which case he lets her cry for 5-10 minutes more before he finally gets up. And now he's been asking during the day too. Can I just change her once? Can I just clean this up? Can I just hold her? In the middle of work, I'm doing my job and he comes in and interrupts me. It's ridiculous that I have to put up with it when he specifically agreed to do it. I've been locking my office door during the day, and tonight he blew up at me saying that I have to help out since I'm home anyway. I went through pregnancy, I make our money, now he wants me to do what he promised to do. He says it's unfair that he has to do it all, when again, he promised he would. How is it fair that I have to work and harass him to take care of her? We've been fighting all night about it, and now he's locked himself in the bedroom. Am I the idiot? Everyone's the idiot here. Yes, it was an agreement, but there's no contract on parental duties other than a court-ordered financial obligation. You had the kid. You should also be a parent. Also, it sounds like he may be going through some mental health issues. Depression is often exhibiting change of sleep patterns and also increased length of sleep. Encourage him to speak with a licensed professional, as I feel you may not have the communication to get him to open up. You are the idiot. Once you bring a child to this world, it's both your responsibility. It's not a freaking plant to water, feed, play when you want. It's a freaking child. If you two couldn't have figured that out, get a dog, get two and see how needy they are, and times that by 1000 to compare what a child requires to be a healthy, mentally, emotionally, and physically. You two should have worked out not wanting kids and shouldn't have had one. If you two weren't committed, now you're both stuck with a kid and need to be responsible adults to take care of it. You two should not have had children. Parenthood is not something that should be all one person. Sometimes people have to do it alone, and that's not fair, but to choose this arrangement. Horrifying. Your husband is going to resent you, and your child is going to hate you. This will turn into a very unhappy home as the resentment and hate build. Save up for therapy and a divorce lawyer, you're going to need it. My husband's sister's youngest child was diagnosed with cancer shortly after birth. She and her husband have spent 2 years fighting for him and his health. Then COVID hit, and what was already a very bad financial and emotional situation became worse. In September, they were forced to leave their home due to a mold issue that may or may not have been there a while, but went unnoticed because of how difficult the last couple of years have been on them. Then her husband's office was closed down, and all employees were forced to move to the one in our town, 3 hours from where they lived before, or find another job, which they did not feel safe doing in the current climate with their family circumstances. My husband and I discussed it and agreed to let them move in until after Christmas, when hopefully the mold issue could be fixed and they could start the process to sell up and find another house. So, I will start by saying they pay for some groceries and help toward bills, but not a lot because of their financial situation. I started having an issue 2 weeks after they moved in. It was agreed upon by all 4 of us that I would make dinner and we would each do our own things for lunch. But she and their older kids started complaining about dinner, wanting something else, and expecting me to make it for them. It got to the point where the other night, where my husband's sister asked me to make a lasagna for them in front of all the kids. Both our husbands were at work, and her kids started to demand it, where I lost it and told her if she didn't want to eat what I prepared, then the least she could do is make it herself, because it's not easy cooking enough for 9 people, and then having 3 people reject it outright and often rudely, and expecting me to cook something very specific for them. It's even worse because the kids have made a fuss about dinner a lot since they got here, and she says nothing to them, and she isn't too far behind in that, but at least she normally expresses it in a less demanding nature and has never pressed it in front of the kids before. I have struggled with some guilt because they have a lot going on and I maybe should have just got over it. I can't always coordinate in advance about what they want for dinner, but also, we don't always have whats needed to make what they want anyway, and I'm already getting more groceries and doing more than I was before. I'm trying to be understanding, but I worry I was an idiot. Things have been tense since. The complaints have not stopped though. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. They're being rude. You need a new system. Either everyone does their own family dinner, sister-in-law does dinner for everyone, you switch off, or you meal plan together. Easy peasy. But your husband needs to talk to his sister about his family's manners while they're in the house. Beggars can't be choosers. You're cooking edible food that most of the people in that house eat without complaint. You are not a short-order cook. If they want to be picky about everything you cook, that isn't your problem, it's theirs. Besides, your sister-in-law is perfectly capable of catering to her picky kids herself. It just sounds like she wants the free labor of a chef who takes orders. Invite them to cook a meal one night a week, or you could have the kids help you. I find that kids will eat a lot of different things if they get to help prepare it. As for your sister-in-law, I think just have a heart-to-heart. Like, hey, I know things are really hard this year, but taking out your frustration on dinner plans is making an already hard situation worse. It's possible she doesn't realize she's being so difficult. I hope things work out. My 64, 21-year-old son, his then girlfriend, her young child, and their baby daughter recently moved to my city from out of state. I live in an expensive West Coast city, so I welcomed them with open arms into my home while they got situated. Everything was going smoothly until 2 months in, and my son was arrested on a robbery charge. Although my son has a spotty criminal history that has caused some tension in our family in the past, his robbery charge is far and above anything he's ever done, and it put a very bad taste in my mouth. He's often careless, a bit selfish, and can be very immature at times. I was very angry at him when it happened, I still am, for throwing away his life and putting his girlfriend and my grandkids into a very difficult spot. His girlfriend broke up with him while he was being held in jail, and I also told him that he was not welcome back into my home. It has been roughly a year, and my son has been released from jail. My grandkids and his ex-girlfriend still live with me. I love having them here, and I've come to love my grandkids' mother as my own daughter. I'm more than happy to help her with childcare and housing, especially because it's not her fault that my son made poor decisions that affected her. However, my son has nowhere to go. He has been couch surfing from friend's house to friend's house since his release and has had some trouble finding work. He's very upset that I chose his ex and my grandkids over him and is angry that I won't move him back into my house. If I move him into my house, my grandkids and his ex will need to move out. I don't want that to happen. I've been standing my ground on not letting him back to my house, however I'm beginning to wonder if I was too harsh on him. Not the idiot. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. I feel for him, marginally. But I wouldn't trade the well-being of 3 people for one as would be required here if you help him. Maybe he should go back from where he came? Or is he required to stay for parole purposes? He made his choice. As a former convict though, you have an opportunity right now to change his path. It will take hard work, a lot of love, and a lot of effort, but you can do it. This is a very pivotal time for him, where he has to choose between a life of crime to survive or a good life. I'm not saying take him back in, but recognize that he's at the point where career criminals start. You've literally done nothing wrong in this situation. You sound like an amazing grandparent and parent, it's a shame your son doesn't appreciate it. He should be happy knowing that his kids are safe and well taken care of while he was off committing crimes. Hell, I wish my parents were half as decent as parents or grandparents. Props to you, sir, keep up the fantastic work.